So this is hardly what you'd call groundbreaking, but it is nevertheless the topic I want you to focus your paper on. The biggest cause of World War II was the end of World War I. Discuss.
Okay. But wasn't the biggest cause of World War II Germany invading Poland and starting World War II?
That is a perspective. As I say, I want you to discuss this premise. Refuting a statement by presenting counterarguments is legitimately part of discussion. However, if you can't make more of that perspective than one sentence, I think you can guess how that will be graded. The German military did not suddenly burst forth fully formed and decided on a whim that they didn't like Poland being there at the moment. We are long past the ancient Greeks who could get away with statements like, and the war happened because Ares decreed it.
I don't know. I kind of like a simple explanation when the good guys and the bad guys are so easy to distinguish as they were in World War II.
Understanding motivation is not the same as condoning it. True crime books are not stacked in the how-to section of the library. Understanding Henry VIII wanted a son and was ruthless to the wives who would not provide one for him is important. Understanding that emulating that behavior is inappropriate is more important for your daily life, but is also outside the scope of this class. History is what happened, not what should have happened.
But isn't there value in talking about what should have happened? That's the whole point behind the whole "those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it" quote. You need to see what happened before to see how to prevent making the same mistakes.
Fair point. But aside from the fact that we can't always agree on what the mistakes were, I personally don't like the negative connotations of that quote. We don't study history only to see how our ancestors screwed up. It's also helpful to see where they made the right decisions. You're not always doomed to repeat history. The man who died from poison taught us not to eat that berry. The man who went, "Yum," taught us that we could avoid starvation by eating that apple.
And going in looking for mistakes is also kind of prejudicial.
You are not wrong. Going into your research thinking you know what the right course of action should have been can very quickly blind you to the myriad of reasons why that could not possibly have been the choice. This is actually an important point for this assignment. If I say I want you to rely on primary sources, I dare say it will not come as a surprise to anyone.
Shocked. I am shocked.
Quite. But what is the biggest problem with primary sources in this case?
Is it that we're looking at two different moments? We'll be looking at what people were thinking when the First War ended, but the consequences of their decisions won't necessarily be apparent until years later.
Exactly. You need to focus on what decisions were made and what their impact was years later. And you need to remember the decisions were not made with the benefit of hindsight. Also, remember, 10 to 15 pages. You're not going to cover the whole of this period in that much content. Pick a smaller battle, find one decision that was made at the Treaty of Versailles, and follow its impact to show whether it was or was not a reason the Second War started. Now, my office hours are unchanged, and you can always ping me online for help. That said, if you're reaching out to me less than 48 hours before the assignment is due, and it sounds like you haven't even started, I will, as always, ignore your email and leave you twisting in the wind.
Which will lead to a different version of doomed to repeat history.
Quite so. We'll call it there for today. I'll stick around if anyone has questions, but you're dismissed otherwise.
I have nothing.
You'll be fine.
I have a test pattern playing on repeat.
And you got the assignment 5 minutes ago, so you don't have to worry about not knowing what to do with it right this second.
What are you doing?
Talking you down.
No, the project. What are you doing for the project?
I don't know. I was taught that Chamberlain giving in to Germany was the big lead up to World War II. People didn't stand up to a bully soon enough. Looking back to World War I seems like the wrong perspective.
Maybe look at where Chamberlain was during the First World War. I don't know much about him.
I guess there could be something there. Maybe a reason why he thought he had to avoid war at all costs, even if the price ended up being too high. I don't know.
See my skill set? I can find a topic for you to work on while I'm still at Please stand by. We are experiencing technical difficulties.
You take that topic. I'll try to find one myself.
In that case, coffee. You need coffee.
I find your argument persuasive. To Java James!
Hey! It is double shot of espresso and latte the size of my head, yes?
Unless you have a larger latte, you have me pegged correctly.
Can I switch out to an Americano in the big cup?
I will make it happen. Have a seat and I'll bring them out to you.
You want the table over there?
Nope. I want that one.
Which? Maddie.
What? She's in our class. It would be rude not to say hello. Or you could say something else. Like maybe the fact you've been thinking about asking her out all semester?
We're working on the project, remember?
You're working on a project. I'm working on your love life. Hey, do you mind if we join you?
No, I don't mind at all.
I'm Maddie and this is Peter. We're not a couple.
Subtle.
Well, I kind of assumed you were. You always show up for class together, so I can see why you might want to alleviate the confusion.
Yeah, we grew up in the same town and we're distantly related. If he does something stupid, his mother yells at me for letting him.
I see.
And having made such a spectacular first impression, you're Anna, right?
Yeah. What do you think of Professor Wilson?
He's fine. Everything is nuanced with him. It gets tiring after a while.
History is nuanced.
Sure, but if there's 1,000 different ways of looking at every moment of history, you can't possibly understand it. There's always another perspective you haven't considered, so you'll always be wrong on some level. When the best you can do is an imperfect understanding, which I already have, why study?
Wow. I guess you're not a history major.
I'm dual majoring in archaeology and anthropology. I like studying bones.
I suppose bones aren't as nuanced.
They're literally not as well fleshed out.
But you at least know when you've learned all they can tell you. There's a stopping point.
I think what you're talking about is the perfect being the enemy of the good. I may not have a perfect understanding of history, but I can have a better understanding. History is just people, and I'll never completely understand any one person. Not sure I'll even understand myself completely. But that doesn't mean I won't ever have friends or try to get to know people.
And speaking of getting to know people, ow!
What happened?
He kicked me under the table because he thinks I'm being too pushy.
Am I getting hit on by proxy?
I hate the expression hit on.
It's cute the way you didn't say no.
Right? He does this all the time. You two should work on the project together.
What?
Not copying papers or anything like that, of course. I guess we could help find some research. What are you thinking of focusing on?
Oh, I haven't really given it any thought yet.
So, you don't know what you're doing either.
Not yet.
Hello there, dearie. I'm here for you, don't you worry.
Oh, boy.
What? Just...
Guys, this is my muse, Cleo.
You want to run that by me again?
I am her muse, one of the daughters of Mnemosyne,
That didn't clear up.
the goddess of memory, my dear. From memory springs forth inspiration. The path of what has come before leads to the path of new creation. Of course, my sisters don't always see it in the same way.
Sisters? The other muses? Sorry, I didn't study mythology.
I'm not exactly mythological, dearie. I'm standing right in front of you, but no matter. Yes, my 8 sisters and I are the muses. I am Cleo, the muse of history.
The muse of history? There's a muse of history?
Well, of course.
Cleo, sweet cakes, how are you?
James, my darling, mwah, mwah. Oh, is that a new uniform? I love the logo.
And I love the way you can stay the same and still take my breath away.
Oh, you are a sweet man.
Hold on.
No, they know each other. It's not that weird.
I'm not only supposed to accept that muses are real. I'm not only supposed to accept that you have a muse. You're telling me that your personal muse knows the local coffee shop owner, and that is not that weird?
Latte, relax. Here's your drink. Now remember, you're in a coffee shop next to a college campus. This is as close to a natural habitat for the muse as Mount Olympus itself. They come seeking inspiration for papers, for projects. The creative writing program alone would bring the sisters down for a visit.
Coffee is a stimulant to the brain. The muses are creatures who inspire thought. It makes sense.
I don't think you're using those words correctly.
Here's your Americano. It might help things make sense.
It's not that weird. I have a muse. Everyone has a muse. Cleo is mine.
I've never seen a muse before. What do you mean, everyone has a muse?
She means, dearie, that everyone has a muse. Some people have many. Some barely notice theirs, but Anna is one of my special darlings. Author of historic accounts, a teacher who inspires others, maybe even something a little more scandalous like historical fiction. Honestly, she can go wherever her heart desires, and I will be so happy to watch her grow.
Between you kids and me, Cleo is probably the most reliable muse to have on your side. I love Thalia and Erato, but boy, those girls are fickle.
Fickle?
My muse has left me. Happens to artists all the time, but not with Cleo. If inspiration can't strike the first time, there's always more history to get you started.
Okay, but maybe I'm missing something. Who are the other muses and what do they do?
Well, there's Terpsichore, who inspires dance, and Euterpe, who handles music and lyric poetry. Melpomene takes care of tragedy, while Thalia handles comedy.
And pastoral poetry. She makes a big deal about that.
Calliope works on epic poetry and eloquence of speech. Erato handles love poetry, while Polyhymenes inspires sacred poetry. They get along better than most people think. And dear Urania inspires astronomy.
Astronomy? Not astrology?
So many people make that mistake. No, it's astronomy.
I don't see much of Urania, but step out into the night in an open field with a clear sky. It's almost the definition of inspiration.
But she's inspiring with astronomy. All the others inspire you to make whatever their thing is. Nobody makes astronomy.
Oh, she does a lot of inspiration.
Well, last time I saw her, some guy was working on fan fiction for one of those interstellar shows. The one that was the soft reboot, I think. Oh, but don't tell her I told you that. She seemed a little embarrassed.
Wait, that's it. That's what's been bothering me.
I don't know. I thought it picked up in season 3.
It totally did, and for a future reference, I'm very turned on about talking to a girl about that show. But I'm talking about Cleo. You're a muse of history, but you said yourself historical fiction is scandalous. So that's not what you do for the most part, right?
Not often, no. Dearie, I inspire history.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. History is not a creative act. When you study history, you're not creating anything.
Well, you're recreating.
No, you're reconstructing. And those are very different words. If you're recreating, you're building it back as something it wasn't before.
And that's kind of exactly what you're not supposed to do with history.
Americano in the big cup. You are taking this way too seriously. Muses don't document, they inspire.
Then there shouldn't be a muse of history. History is about what happened, not what you're inspired to think might have happened.
You know history is part of the College of Liberal Arts, right? Stop thinking of it as a pure science. There's some room to stretch there.
Erato is supposed to inspire love poetry, but she's also in charge of all the romance novels in the world. New art forms are coming into being all the time.
They named the awards for excellence in advertising the Cleo Awards.
You know you're making my point for me, right? Advertising is putting a spin on things, making the undesirable seem desirable. Do that with history, and you can make some very unpalatable things seem just fine and dandy. It's dangerous. It's insidious. It's
brilliant!
What?
It's my project. If I take a look at how the Axis powers taught and understood their history between the two world wars, that's my topic. Was it, oh, woe is me, look how unfairly they're treating us after the last war? We almost won last time. All we need to do is try again. It's perfect. My German is rusty, but I can find some translators of pre-war newspapers and probably even history texts. At least I think I can. Oh, Cleo, thank you. You did it again.
Wait, she did?
Yes, dearie, I did. You're very welcome, Anna. Mwah, mwah. Now, you should get to the library soon, you know.
I will, but I think Peter was going to...
Well, I suppose, but don't forget the last time you went out with a cynic. It wasn't your best day.
I don't think that's the kind of history you're supposed to inspire with, but you may have a point. Sorry, Peter. Gotta go.
Ta-ta, everyone. My work here is done.
So, not to be Miss Debbie Downer, but, you don't have a topic for the paper. And I think you just made an enemy of the Muse of History.
She doesn't usually hold grudges, though to be fair, when she does, she has a long memory.
Why does that not surprise me? Jaffa James, I need to change my order, I think.
That would be Americano in the big cup and keep them coming?
Yes, sir. Yes, it would be.
You've been listening to Amusing History, produced by Seat of Our Pants players, written and directed by Dan Wenzel. The professor was Rick Tennant. Peter was Andrew Dell. Maddie was Brianna Kuby. Anna was Liz Music. Java James was Dan Wenzel. And Cleo was Jill Wenzel. Some music and sound effects by www.freesfx.co.uk. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you later.